Hey, what's up, y'all? Back with another episode of Bill and Tony's Excellent Adventure. He's Bill Althouse. I'm Tony Stevens. We'll remind you again that our full podcast episodes are on YouTube and Spotify, and you can make a connection with us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and make sure you like and especially subscribe. We're trying to get the subscription rates way up through the roof, and we do appreciate all of you who are watching not only the full podcast episodes, but the reels as well. We have a very special guest that's just minutes away. This man is one of the most notorious criminals in the history of Kansas City. Yeah, and he's still alive to talk about it. He had a 30-year-to-life sentence and was out in one day after he got that conviction.
Unbelievable.
How? He's going to tell you the story. His name is Bill Corum. The name of his book is The Ultimate Pardon. You guys definitely want to stick around and hear this story. He's going to be on with us in just a couple of minutes. We had such a great time at our last show, which was our first live show that we did at Vito's Pizza. We had a full house, and we're going to get to what the big subject of the day was as far as the Blue Springs South football game. We'll get to that here in just a second, and we will start with today's hot topics. Chiefs drive an 18-wheeler full of ass whoop on the Vegas Raiders, 31-0. Yeah, remember when they beat us? Whatever, they've beaten us twice in the last 2 decades, and they drove around Arrowhead. Yeah, drive that thing around Arrowhead. The return of Rashee Rice did not disappoint. Boy, they went boom. They went to him right off the bat on that first drive. He got 2 touchdowns. Chiefs did everything right. Raiders did everything wrong. 3 first downs? Seriously? The Raiders got 3 first downs. We got 30. I got to tell you, my favorite play of the game was this, and it's probably yours too. Chiefs are up 7-0, and it's 4th down and short, and they're acting like they're going to, that play where you try to draw them off sides, do all that. And then Pat puts his arms up in the air, raises his hands up in the air and says, and then they quickly hand the ball off to Kareem Hunt, and he gets a first down. I swear that it was an ass beating to the max. And I don't think I've ever seen this. You ever seen the Chiefs put in their backups at the end of the third quarter? Freaking Gardner Minshew was handing the ball off before the third quarter ended. I mean, it was that score could have been, I don't know, easily 48-0. So it was crazy. Let's do a recap of Friday Night Lights. A lot of big high school football action around town. Aiden Wilhelm and Blue Springs South, it wasn't close. They defeated Blue Springs. That final score was 35-7. I think it was 35-0 at one point. South is now 8-0. Man, they're going to be tough to beat. If you check out our podcast, the live show that we did at Vito's Original Pizza, we had Bill and I had Aiden and Coach Wilmus as our guests, and they did everything. They did everything they said they were going to do. So they were great, and there was a lot of close games around town. Other games of note: Lee Summit over Staley. Lee Summit North survived Lee Summit West. That was a really close game. Blue Valley holds off Blue Valley West. Another really good game, Fort Osage and Grain Valley. Fort Osage was way ahead. Grain Valley made a valiant comeback and almost did it, but Fort Osage wins that game 41-34. Olathe West, another really good team. They're now 6-1. They beat Shawnee Mission East by 3. In the Frontier League, Eudora with a big win over Tonganoxie. That was another close game. That was 21-17. A couple of other powerhouses in town. Liberty North beats Rockhurst. And in Independence, William Chrisman over Raytown. Belton beats Truman. KC Current, they never lose, right? Well, they lost one. They lost one at home. I can't remember what their winning streak at home was, Bill. It was something like 19 straight games, but they lost 1-0 to Houston. So right now, before they get into the playoffs, they are 20 wins, 3 losses, and 2 ties. That's the KC Current. Sporting KC played their last game of the year, and they lost again. They finished in last place. What in the world happened to that team? They've made some big changes at the top. I don't know if Kerry Zavanian, head coach, will be back next year or not. With a new regime in, I kind of doubt it. Your team, the KC Mavericks, Bill, they opened the season at home. They split their 2 games against the Rapid City Rush. Their next home game will be at Cable Dome Arena on Halloween night. We've got some Royals news. Royals have 3 Gold Glove finalists from the 2025 season. No surprise, Bobby Witt Jr. for shortstop, and good for these 2 guys. Michael Garcia for third base, and he ought to damn near get it. And Kyle Isbell for center field. Good for Kyle. This next story, it's not really a sports story, but it involves athletics. Bill, this will make you feel really good. An 82-year-old man from right here in the metro defied the odds over the weekend. He became the oldest person to climb Mount frickin' Everest. This is a local man. Here's the backstory. On October 11th, David McClung of Olathe and his son, Dennis, who's 55. Well, that sounds like that Mandelbaum episode on Seinfeld. Anyway, these 2, father and son, set off on a journey to complete the climb to the south base of the world's tallest mountain, 17,598 feet. This started on October 11th, and just on Sunday the 19th, they made it. This climb spans approximately 80 miles, about 6, 7, 8 hours of walking every day through steep terrains and harsh weather. 82 years old. I swear to God, I can't climb a 6-step ladder without being scared I'm going to fall off the damn thing or having somebody hold it. But this guy, 82 years old, did it. And we got music news again this week, and as always, we start the week with none other than the showgirl herself. So Taylor Swift, every week there's a new record broken. And this week it's for first week album sales. Life of a Showgirl has sold over 3.5 million units since it was released, and that beats the record by Adele, which was in 2015. So not only the biggest selling as far as units sold, the fastest selling and streaming album of the modern era. You got your copy?
I'm on my way to get it.
You know all the songs already? You know that song, Wood?
Have you heard it?
Yeah, I've heard it.
And it's about Travis Kelce?
Oh, I was going to say, I didn't know you guys were that close. but anyway,
oh,
she's
baby,
selling. And the other subject that we talked about the last couple of weeks, Bad Bunny,
yes,
who's going to do the Super Bowl halftime show. He's got a bit of a controversy on his hands he's had for the last week or so. You know, he was at the Yankees game during the playoffs, and when they do God Bless America at Yankee Stadium, all 81 home games, and when they did it, he never stood up. Him and his buddies were sitting throughout the whole thing. Man, that's his choice, but you better know if you're Bad Bunny and you're in Yankee Stadium, that camera's going to be on you, just like they are at Arrowhead for Taylor, and he didn't stand, and now there's some groundswell about, come on, get this dude out of here. I mean, I don't know. What do you think? I mean, is it that big a deal? Or, I mean, I know it's disrespectful. I'll say that. I think it's disrespectful. Stand your ass up for that. But
I think it's disrespectful. But that's what those guys are over fighting for. So we can make stupid decisions, and I don't like that decision, but if he wants to do it, I'm fine with it, but I wish J.D. Vance wouldn't have jumped into the middle of it and suggesting 82-year-old Lee Greenwood be the halftime show. And this is serious.
Oh,
I
was
bring
him
out in his wheelchair and
come on, man.
No. I'm anxious to see what he's never recorded an album in English. He's an international superstar.
Yeah.
He was in that Brad Pitt movie Bullet Train and was hilarious.
Well, in WWE.
Oh yeah.
You've seen we had shots of him in WWE on last week's show.
That's right.
So we'll see. I mean, for me personally, people have asked me, well, who would you get? Well, and I think back to the stars that have played big stadiums.
Sure.
I mean, why not a Kenny Chesney?
Yes.
I mean, Kenny that's all he plays is stadiums.
Right.
And he sells them all out. He played the Sphere, which brings me to, how about the Eagles?
Yeah.
I mean, I know you're saying, well, you guys are a bunch of old guys. Well, Kenny's audience is still,
Yep.
you go to one of his shows, you ain't going to see Lee Greenwood's.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I would think the Eagles would be
That would be nice.
Way cool.
That would be nice.
I mean, somebody new, Morgan Wallen, but then again,
here you go, though.
Be some controversy there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but there is a bit of a petition that's being signed. It's been signed by thousands already to replace the king of Latin pop with the king of country, and he's old too, George Strait.
Oh, no, that'd be interesting.
So, but I mean, I don't know.
Has Garth done it?
I
can't remember.
He may have late 90s.
Okay.
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't remember. But yeah, might be a little past Garth's prime, but whatever. I don't know. I mean, but I think we can pass on Lee Greenwood, but whatever. I don't know. Let's move on. I don't know if you heard about this or not too, but remember the TV show Catfish?
Oh yeah.
And that that's kind of gone by the wayside now too. And if you're wondering, well, what's Catfish? Well, let me tell you guys this story. This is a Facebook post that was on the Clay County Sheriff's Office, and you and I were actually at the Clay County Sheriff's Office a couple of months ago. Sheriff Will Aiken.
Yes.
We paid a visit up there. Anyway, this post was up since March of this year. There's a local guy that lost an estimated $120,000 to an individual claiming to be a woman named Lisa. So Lisa reportedly initiated a conversation with this man who, good for him, they're not saying what his name is because this guy will never live this down.
Yeah, can you imagine?
She started this conversation on TikTok with him about 6-7 months ago. And she eventually asked this guy to move the conversation to an app called Telegram. You know about that?
No,
I've never heard of it.
I don't know about anything.
You know about that, Tom? No. What this is an encrypted messaging app that the sheriff's office says makes it harder for law enforcement to access and track conversations with scammers. That's what this is about. So over the course of conversations and this months, weeks started to go by, this Lisa scammer and this victim built a relationship. And during this time, Lisa reportedly had several emergencies that were popping up and kept asking for money. Car repairs. Oh man, I lost my job. I need gas. And then it got to a point where she needed help paying taxes on her mom's house so she could sell it. So in other words, it started getting bigger and bigger. It went from $10, $20, $1,000. And so she reportedly told this guy, hey, when we sell that house, well, I'm going to pay you back. I mean, it's not a problem once the house gets sold. Well, before paying, though, the man told a family member about it. He said, it'd be like me with this. Hey, Bill, hey, let me tell you about this deal. And they said, hey, cut it right there. It's a scam. You better call the police. And so that's where it is. Did they catch Lisa? Nope. The guy lost money? Yep. $120,000.
Was Lisa really a Lisa?
Oh, that was some dude named Chuck.
Exactly. Yes.
I mean,
yes.
Yeah.
That's sad.
That's really, really tough. Had a couple good stories here. This is going to affect all of us in one way or another. Researchers at the University of Massachusetts are announcing the development of a cancer prevention vaccine.
Wow.
They say the vaccine is proven to prevent melanoma, pancreatic cancer, triple-negative breast cancer in mice, with almost all of them being tumor-free for the entire study, despite being exposed to all these cancer cells. That basically teaches the immune system, say, hey, that's a bad thing, get rid of it. I mean, that's like getting a flu shot, man. I mean,
when you told me that, I immediately got online, looked at it, and it seems to me like it's totally legit. Lisa doesn't have anything to do with it, does she?
Well, no, but big pharma might.
Well, yes,
and he's kind of like the guy that sells life insurance, Big Lou.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So, I hope it doesn't get pushed down the road forever.
I do too.
Because you know what happens in these sorts of things.
Sure.
So UMass did another study. This is a little bit lighter hearted. How long you live may depend on how much you make. So this study, I don't know who funded this. I don't think this is Big Pharma. This might have been Big Lou. Older people who earn less than $20,000 a year died 9 years sooner on average than those who earned $120,000 or more. So here's $20,000, you be dead in a month, and then here's $120,000. So the report also found that the majority of people over 60 would struggle if faced with sudden financial crisis. Don't look at me like that.
Yeah.
But you know what the deal is? We both know that this has already been proven wrong. Because you and I should have been dead long.
Oh man, no kidding.
Years ago.
Do they talk about like they can't afford medical care insurance?
I know. What are the variables here?
I know. That's the first thing I'd want to know.
$20,000. Well, you dead.
Yeah.
You make $120,000.
Yeah.
Well, you're gonna live to be as old as Moses.
That's right. I already feel like. People in delivery rooms, nurses, doctors have seen everything. But at Nashville's TriStar Centennial Women's Hospital, a 13-pound baby was born. 13 pounds, man.
Wasn't a turkey?
Exactly. And, I read this story and read it several times, and then I had to look to another story. It was by a C-section, thank goodness. Could you imagine that? That poor woman. Woo. He weighed 12.9 pounds or 5.8 kilograms. And the photos of this little bouncing bundle of joy. Wow. Now, the average baby weighs in at about 7.5 pounds.
Yeah.
He was double that, and he's the largest newborn baby ever delivered at Centennial Women's Hospital.
Okay, so 13-pound baby.
13 pounds.
Okay, so we're gonna have a talk right now, and I'm gonna embarrass my producer's son.
Because he's a monster now.
He was 9 pounds 14 ounces. He was 10, and his mom weighed about 100.
Wow,
10 pounds. He was 2 weeks late.
Yeah,
10 pounds. We kind of went through. I've seen that.
Yeah.
10 pounds, and
nuts,
then tack
man.
another 3 on there. Wow, that's a big.
That's crazy.
That's a big baby.
That is crazy.
That's a big baby.
And Tony, I was born and raised in Independence. Went to Truman High School.
Independence since 1981.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know. Did you ever notice as you're driving down Noland Road the Hair Museum?
The Hair Museum.
Right across the street from Taco Bell, just south of McDonald's. And, I never really saw anybody in the parking lot. Back when I was still working at the Examiner, we got a call from somebody at the Hair Museum. The Prince of Darkness had just visited. Ozzy Osbourne was an independent.
Come on.
He would not let them.
Some homeless guy?
No. The picture they have, it's like, oh, man, what are you doing having your picture?
He was in Independence on Noland Road?
On Noland Road. With his daughter.
Come on.
And she had her little foo-foo dog with her. And the funniest part of the story, Leela Cahoon, who passed away last November when she was 92, and it doesn't say if she got his approval or not, but they say she snipped some of Ozzy's hair.
Okay, so tell me what this whole hair music. So they got like hair from famous people on there?
No, they have
that. What it is?
No. This is ornate decorations. This is the type of things you put up at the holidays. It's hair made out of wreaths. They've got the fall.
Sounds
hair.
good on my tree this year at Christmas.
Oh, yeah. Dude, listen, man. They had more than 3,000 pieces.
You're making this shit up.
No, man. Now this is what you aren't going to believe.
Museum. What?
They're distributing pieces to museums and folks all over the world, including the Washington Museum of Art in New York and the National Museum of Women in the Arts in Washington, D.C. Dude,
So it's not open anymore. otherwise.
No, it is closed. Hair-raising experience right there. When Leela passed away, members of her family are distributing these works of art. And, man,
Works of art, huh?
I wish I'd have taken time to stop in there because I just never thought it was real. I thought it was maybe something from the 40s or 50s, and they just never had done anything to redecorate the building or take down the billboard.
Did they charge money to go in there?
Well, it was a museum. I bet they probably did, but I doubt if they charged Ozzy.
I swear I've never heard this damn story.
Can you believe, though, that Ozzy Osbourne visited there? What a perfect guy to be in. And I can just hear him talking about, the different hairs and,
Let's go across the street to Quick Trip.
Exactly, man.
You know what? I think it'd be great. It's too bad they're not open still because I would have gone in there and bought you a Billy Ray Cyrus wig. You would look so freaking cool in that. You see him? It'd be Billy Ray Althouse.
Oh man,
Billy Ray Althouse.
Business on top, party in the back.
Oh, you God, where you come up with this stuff? All right, so we're gonna get. This is a serious story, but. That guy, I don't know how to put it otherwise, but that guy that pissed in the food at Hereford House a few years ago, well, it's caught up to him. So I know you guys remember this story, but the case all started with the FBI got a tip about food contamination at Hereford House in Leawood. Beautiful place.
Yes. Yeah.
So this prompted this investigation, and all these charges came up against this young man. He pleaded guilty this week to 33 counts, including felony food contamination, criminal damage, and then when they got on his computer, they found all these despicable, horrible child pornography pictures. Did you know?
I didn't know that part.
Yes. Bad. And so sad because the restaurant had to close. Man, Hereford House in Leawood closed because, there were dozens of lawsuits. And then, the bad part about it, there were a lot of people got sick.
Oh, it made me sick hearing about it. I couldn't believe it.
You talk about serious nature of food contamination and the legal consequences it can have. He got 11 years. He got this week he's been sentenced to 11 years in prison. And God forbid, he probably would have got away with it, but he posted this stuff. He'd piss on a steak and then put it on YouTube. I mean, what the?
You can't fix stupid.
I mean,
it's nuts.
I can't even comprehend, first of all, why anybody would do that.
Yeah.
And then post it. Like, hey, look what I just did.
Yeah.
At one of the most revered restaurant names in this city,
sure.
The Hereford House. But he got his due. He got 11 years, and I guarantee he better watch what he eats in prison.
Oh, man. Can you imagine when those guys find out?
Oh, man. It's going to be rice with everything in it, brother.
The funny thing is, I bet a lot of those folks that got sick and were really affected by this would, instead of those 11 years, put him in a room with Bill Corum for 5 minutes.
Oh, let me tell you something. Nobody wanted to be in a room with Bill Corum for 5 minutes unless you were on his good side.
Yes.
And who's Bill Corum? He's our special guest that we're going to speak to here in just a second. Bill Corum, as I've said many times over the last week and talking about our guest, was a criminal like very few others in this city. I mean, Bill, he ended up getting a nickname that he will tell us here in a minute for a reason, because he did things that the worst of the worst didn't want to do. For example, if there was something, let's say the mob wanted done, if they needed something done to send a message and the people that they usually used didn't want to do it, they would call Bill Corum. And it started when he was a kid, but it's all changed.
Yeah.
Bill Corum, as despicable as a human being as he was, and how many people are afraid of him, he's one of the most revered human beings now, and people look forward to meeting him and hearing what he has to say. Ladies and gentlemen, our special guest, Mr. Bill Corum. Our guest rode over 2,500 miles in handcuffs, leg irons, and waist chains before his 21st birthday. After his release from prison, he finally returned home here in Kansas City, determined to never go back. Yet, he had no intention of ever becoming a law-abiding citizen, only covering his tracks. His insatiable hunger for money, power, and influence drove him. He spent the next 18 years evading the law. Like a frog in a slowly boiling pot, he found himself in the ever-tightening vice grip of drugs, pornography, prostitution, and organized crime. Until he found himself in so deep, there's no way out. After being arrested, he faced the probability of spending the rest of his life behind the walls, behind bars. Will Bill Corum receive the ultimate pardon? We're going to find out right now. Bill Corum, you're my friend, brother. Thank you for coming in and sharing this just amazing, incredible story and book that I've had the opportunity to read. Bill is aware of it, and our producer has read it. Where do we start? I mean, I look at the first chapter. The first chapter of your book is solitary confinement, followed by an outlaw child. So this wasn't a phase, how your life went down the wrong road. Where do you want to begin at?
Well, I'll tell you this, Tony, I spoke last Saturday or week before last, not this Saturday, but a week ago, to 182 minutes, 6 o'clock in the morning, believe it or not. And one guy started handing my books out. I gave away 182 books. And the guy started handing my book out. And I said, don't hand those out yet. Because if you hand them out before I speak, nobody's going to listen to me.
Yeah.
Because they're going to see a chapter that says, I gave my wife to a drug dealer or 80-year-old hooker. And they're going to want to read that. So don't give those books out yet, because there's a lot of things in that book.
Yeah.
So I don't know, Tony. I guess I would start that just I was rebellious as a child. I had a good friend that died when we were teenagers, but him and I started stealing when we were 8 years old and sneaking around smoking, and I just started down that path, and there was something about it that I was just drawn. You know, it interested me, and I was drawn to it. So.
And in reading in the book, correct me if I'm wrong, but you had good parents.
I had really good parents. Yeah.
So what the hell happened?
I was a.
You just like that fast life?
You've heard of the black sheep of the family. I was the blackest of the black.
Oh my God!
I mean, I don't think anybody in our family, of my whole family, I don't think anybody ever, went to prison or was a drug addict or anything. And I was all of the above. I was drug addict, alcoholic. So,
well, as I introduced you, before you were 21, I mean, you spent literally thousands of hours arrested.
When I was 18, I was at a crossroads, Tony. I joined the Marine Corps. I had no regard for anything.
Did you think the Marine Corps was going to change you?
No, I thought I'd change the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
I had no regard. I quit everything I didn't like. If girls didn't put out, I quit.
Yeah.
If I didn't like my job, I quit. I just quit. I quit school. I was in a pool hall shooting pool, and a friend of mine walked up behind me, and actually he wasn't even that good a friend, just a kind of an acquaintance.
Yeah.
And he walked up and said, "Hey, Bill, there was a recruiting right across the street. This was the pool hall in Raytown, Missouri.
Raytown.
Still there, Raytown Rec on 63rd Street. And right across the street was a Marine Corps recruiting depot. And he said, "Hey, Bill, let's go join the Marines." And I said, "Let me finish this game first." I finished the game, walked up the steps, walked across the street, and joined the Marine Corps. Because I said, "Hey, if I don't like the Marines, I'll quit." And I did.
And they came looking for you.
Well, I got in a lot of trouble in the Marine Corps, a lot of trouble, and didn't have to, Tony. I mean, I graduated. If anybody out there's a Marine, I'd say Semper Fi to you. But literally, I didn't have to because I graduated from a regimental honor platoon, which is the highest. Yeah. There's 4 platoons in a company, and our platoon, you're competing against each other all through boot camp. Yeah. And I graduated from a regimental honor platoon, and I was going to be a jet mechanic. So I had a great job ahead of me, but I didn't like being told what to do. And I didn't like authority, basically. And so I rebelled, and I rebelled big time and got in a lot of trouble. Ended up escaping from a Marine prison. And so that was the beginning of, but I stood at the crossroads I was at. I was 18 years old. I stood before a Marine Corps colonel, and he said, if you don't straighten up, you'll be in the penitentiary before you're 21. And I laughed in his face. Yeah. And that was a crossroads, because if I had taken his advice and said, this man knows what he's talking about, and I'd have changed my course, my life would have been different. But I laughed in his face, and I was, as the book says, I was in a federal prison when I was 21 years old. And when I got out of that prison, I had 2 goals: never go back and never get caught. I had no intentions of obeying the law. And the very day I got out, I started breaking the law, and I broke the law for the next over 18 years. And not petty burglaries and, picking up tips off tables, which I did from the time I was a teenager till I was, almost 40. I was doing serious stuff. We were international gun smuggling. We were buying cocaine from Bogota in South America, and at that time you could buy a midnight special. You know what a midnight special is? I do. You could buy a pistol off the street for $100. Well, in South America, handguns are illegal, and you can get $1,000 for a handgun in South America. And they didn't check your luggage going out of the country; they checked it coming in. So we would put 10 handguns in a suitcase that we'd paid $1,000 for, and take them over there and get $10,000 to apply toward our cocaine purchase. So that would have been a very serious crime if I'd have got caught. International gun smuggling.
Well, you told me in one of our conversations, and I'm sure it's in the book, that you were the biggest cocaine dealer in the state of Missouri.
No, you sound like some of the pastors that introduced me.
Oh, here we go.
I get introduced and go, our next speaker was the biggest cocaine dealer in Kansas City, Missouri.
See, if I'd have said that 30 years ago, I wouldn't have just got a tap on the damn arm like that.
So now, I mean, I get up and say, God can't use exaggeration, and he can't use lies.
That's right.
So I want to apologize for your pastor. I was implicated when I was arrested and was facing going back to prison for the rest of my life. I was implicated as being one of the leading cocaine dealers in Kansas City.
I stand correct.
And I was involved with a guy that was right out here in Blue Springs.
Jeez.
But literally, I was not partners with, but I was involved with Kenny Weld of Weld Wheels. And Kenny got busted with 29 pounds of cocaine right here in Blue Springs. Yep. And that happened. That really was my fault, because I beat a guy almost to death, put 100 stitches in the back of his head with a baseball bat, and I was arrested, charged with a first-degree burglary, because when you break in somebody's house, if they're home, it's first degree. Okay. If there's nobody home, it's second-degree burglary. Yeah. He was home, and then I got charged with first-degree assault with intent to kill. And that guy gave a 20-page statement to the Missouri Narcotics Division, typewritten pages, not handwritten. It looked like a book, 20 pages. And he named me and some other people and some judges and some Kenny Weld was in that statement. And it wasn't very long after that Kenny got popped. And so I know that it was because of that statement that this guy gave. And, that was one of the, by that time in my life, when I was about 30, a key mafia figure in Kansas City nicknamed me Crazy Bill because of some of the things he'd heard that I did, because I did some pretty crazy things. One of the things he heard I did was I ran through a bar on Main Street with a running chainsaw. I was mad at somebody in the bar, and I was going to go in and cut the bar in half. So my partner dropped me at the back door. I fired the chainsaw, opened the back door, and walked in. And when the door shut, I don't know if you guys noticed, but when you go in bars, now if you go in a bar that serves food, there's some light in there. Yeah. If you go into a bar that just serves hot dogs and potato chips, it's not quite as light. Yes. But if you go in a bar that don't serve anything except alcohol, it's dark.
Yep.
And so I walked in there, and when that back door closed, it was pitch black. And I'm standing there with a chainsaw, and I'm going to bend over and cut this bar in half. But the first thought that went through my mind, there may be somebody in here with a pistol that's going to shoot me in the back when I bend over. So I just walked straight through the bar, swinging the running chainsaw. And when I got to the front door, I walked out, shut it off, got in my buddy's car, and we drove off. Well, one of my associates that was part of the underworld heard about it, and he nicknamed me Crazy Bill. Wow. And that name fueled me, guys. Yeah. It really did. I'd walk into a restaurant or a bar, and there'd be 4 or 5. I used to go to Villa Capri a lot over on the avenue. And there'd be a few guys in the back corner. I could say their names because they're all gone. But they'd be sitting in the back, and they go, "Hey, Crazy Bill, come sit with us." I loved walking through there and having everybody knew who Crazy Bill was. Yeah. And that name fueled me, and I just did things that were, and then I got to a point when I was doing things, being paid to do things, I did things that nobody else would do. And they're like, "Well, we can't do that. We'll call Bill. He'll do it." And I was doing some crazy things. So, wow.
So how does it get to a point where you stop doing those crazy things and you get to where you get the ultimate pardon?
Well, it was a lot of years. I mean, you know, as you said, almost 2 decades.
Yeah.
I lost my family. And it was my own doing. It was kind of like choices I made. You know, it wasn't, I'm not going to blame anybody, but choices I made caused me to lose my family. And I just continued to get darker and darker and worse and more. The Bible actually talks about the hardness of your heart, that your heart can get seared with as a hot iron. You know, like I know guys that have got shot and they'd take a hot iron and sear it, the hole, to keep it from bleeding. And your heart can get seared and your conscience can get seared to where you don't care. I felt like I didn't have a conscience and didn't believe in God at this point. But I had, by that time, around the time of 30, I had 3 goals. And those goals were money, power, and influence. And as being implicated as one of the leading cocaine dealers in Kansas City, we were making a lot of money. Yeah. I was riding in limousines. I was staying in $500 a night hotels. That's not a lot today, but that was a lot of money in the 70s. Oh, yeah. I bought $20,000 worth of cocaine for a one-night party. And so I had money. Yeah. I had enough power to make a phone call and have somebody killed, so I had power. Mm-hmm. And I had enough influence. I love to ask this question in jails and prisons. I say, how many of you have ever been arrested on a weekend? And every hand goes up. And then I yell, what happens when you get arrested on a weekend, guys? And everybody in there yells, nothing. Yeah. You ain't going nowhere till Monday morning. That's right. When the judge gets there to arraign you, set your bond, whatever. Well, I was booked into a jail. It wasn't in Kansas City. It was out of town. I was booked into the jail at 2 o'clock Sunday afternoon when they booked me in. And I made a phone call back to Kansas City to a city councilman that we were selling cocaine to, and I said, you knew who to call. And the city councilman called the judge we were selling cocaine to. Now, let me tell you something. If you're out there listening or watching, when you're selling cocaine to a judge, he don't want you in jail. And listen, guys, I don't know anybody else. And I've been doing this next year, 2026. I started going into prisons in 1986. 2026 will be my 40th year. I've been in over 500 different prisons. I've been in some prisons hundreds of times, like Boonville, hundreds of times. Lansing, Kansas, those prisons up there, hundreds of times, hundreds. But 500 different prisons. I've never met another person that got and this was not a traffic ticket that I got booked in jail for. 100 stitches in the back of a guy's head. Yeah. okay, I was out of jail at 1:30 Monday morning, less than 12 hours on a weekend. And when I walked out of that jail, I said, you finally arrived, Bill. You got money, you got power, and you got influence. But there was something missing in my life that I didn't have. And it's the same thing missing in every human's life that's not fully surrendered to God, and that's peace. I had no peace. If I was in a restaurant eating and a cop came in, I'd lay money on the table and get out the door, or I might go to the bathroom, go out the window, depending on what situation I was in my life, because I thought he was after me. And you know what, guys? I become a Christian, and I start reading the Bible, which I really didn't do before. And I read in the Bible, it says a wicked man runs when no one's chasing him. And I'm like, whoa. Wow. I left a lot of steak dinner set on the table. And it might not even be a cop. It might be some guy just had a suit on. And I thought he was a detective or something. Because I was so in fear. And it says a wicked man runs when no one's chasing him. And I was the most wicked of the wicked. And so if I saw authority, I got nervous if I saw a Girl Scout, Bill, because she had a uniform on. If I saw a UPS driver, if a UPS driver walked in that door, I'd get nervous because he had a uniform on.
Sure.
Authority, right?
Yeah.
I had no peace. I looked for peace in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I had bought 11 brand new cars in 13 years. I looked like a white Mr. T, if you remember 18. No, seriously. I wore my shirts unbuttoned down to my belly button. I had 5
Did you have gold
chains hanging around my neck. Always had 10 grand in my pockets. Girls riding in a limousine with girls on each side. I was looking for peace.
Yeah.
Cars, money, women, drugs, the best whiskey, the best times. Go to Florida. I had a buddy down there that we were doing smuggling drugs. He had a sailboat. We'd go out on the ocean and sail around, and he had an airplane. We'd fly around. But I was looking for peace, and I had no peace.
Yeah.
And no matter what I did to look for it, I could not find peace. And I believe with all my heart, and I tell this to the inmates in the prisons, the day you're born, you'll never have peace in your life. And you can look at the movie stars, the famous singers, the famous pro athletes that have killed themselves, that had millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, but they had no peace in their life. They end up committing suicide, because the only way you'll ever have peace is for you to get in relationship with your Creator. And there's only one way that happens. And people don't know that. And so they looked their whole life for peace. And I looked and looked and looked and looked. And I was at a point, I had a $500 a day cocaine habit. I was smoking 3 packs of non-filtered Camels a day. I was drinking 2 quarts of whiskey a day. People go, you couldn't drink 2 quarts of whiskey. I said, you never did cocaine, did you? Yeah. And see, I didn't hear a lot of laughter in this room, but when I'm in a prison, everybody laughs. And then I tell the word, and I said, now you know everybody in here has done cocaine.
Yep.
Because when you're doing cocaine, you can't get drunk.
Yep.
That's why people die of speedballs, because they're doing cocaine and they're taking heroin, or they're taking some downer. See, I had 2 heart attacks from doing cocaine, because my heart was about to blow out of my chest, because and then I learned how to do it, because the difference between heroin and cocaine is if you've got this much heroin, you'll do half today and half tomorrow. But if you got this much cocaine or a dump truck load, you'll do it till it's gone. You'll do it till it's all gone. Then that's why I would go 8 or 9 days and never shut my eyes. I've gone 4 or 5 days and never sat down, like just pacing in. Go check in a $500 a day hotel room with a, conference table twice this long, and start dumping cocaine out, and take a book instead of a credit card and start making lines, and we just start partying. Take the mirrors off the walls in these big hotel rooms and line cocaine, and go for days like that, days. And so my heart stopped twice. I've OD'd multiple times. I've been in over 25 car wrecks and motorcycle wrecks in my life. I've been in riots in prisons. I've been shot at. I've had multiple times, 8 specific times I should have died, Bill. And I'm telling you, I love to go in a church and say, how many of you believe in miracles? And every hand goes up. And the pastor's sitting on the front row, and then I do this, Tony. I go, I don't believe in miracles. And the pastor's eyes get this big. He's like, who have I brought in here? And then I do this. I say, I don't believe in miracles. I rely on miracles. Because 8 specific times, and I could show you each time, 8 specific times I should have died, and I didn't die for such a time as today.
That's right.
That I could be here telling you guys that God loves you. He's got a plan for your life. And he changed my life in 1983. April 15th, 1983, I said, if there's a God and you can change Bill Corum, I will live my life for you.
So what happened?
And I've never looked back.
That was April 15th,
1983.
What happened on April 14th?
I was doing drugs. I was partying.
Were you locked up?
No. Okay. I was out on a big bond. I made bond, that 1:30 in the morning when I walked out.
Okay, when you got off that deal,
I got booked in at 2:00 Sunday afternoon. Walked out at 1:30 Monday morning.
What was the sentence for that you were facing? 30 life?
That particular case was about 5 to 15 on the first degree assault, and 15 to life on the first degree assault on the first degree burglary, and then 15 to life on the first degree assault with intent to kill. Yeah. And then he implicated us as being some of the leading cocaine dealers in the city. So that was a whole nother case, But so basically, when I go in prisons today and I run into a guy that I haven't seen for 2, 3 years, 5 years, just was in a prison last week and saw a guy I hadn't seen in 4 years. He didn't do this, but a lot of guys do. They'll come up to me and go, Bill, I tried God and he didn't work. And I look him in the eye and I go, he didn't work the way you tried him.
Yeah.
See, if you try him your way, he'll never work. They go, did he work for you? And I said, you read my book, right?
Yeah.
I haven't done an illegal drug since 83. I've not smoked a cigarette since 83. Not had a drop of alcohol. Not kissed another woman. Yeah, he worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
Total surrender. But see, inmates don't like to do this. Outlaw bikers don't like to do it. Mafia leaders don't like to do this. Gang leaders don't like. Drug dealers don't. Because what's this mean? I surrender. I give up. And I'll tell you, the first time I ever did it was 62 years ago. I'd escaped from a prison in Tennessee. I stole a car in Memphis, and I drove into Mississippi, a little town called Leland, Mississippi. And I don't know if you know this or not, Bill, but when you escape from prison, you need some different clothes. And so I was
orange starter pops out.
So I was breaking into a clothing store at night. I was going to go into the skylight. Back then, they didn't have digital alarms; they had analog alarms. They were easy to beat. So I was going in this clothing store through the roof, and I was about this far from reaching the roof. I had some boxes piled up, trash, or a 55-gallon barrel, and I was this far, and I looked down, and there was a flashlight coming down the alley. And, man, I dropped down and took off the other direction because I was pretty fast 62 years ago. And I turned that corner, and the biggest, fattest Mississippi sheriff you ever seen had a belly out there like this. And a gun this long, and I turned that corner, he stuck it right here, he goes, where are you going, boy? I said, with you, sir. And that was the first time in my life I ever did that, and I never did that again for almost 2 decades, and then I surrendered to the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, and he changed my life forever. When I go in prisons today, guys want to argue religion with me, because there's about 50 different religions in prisons.
Oh, sure.
Lots of different religions. And I always say this. I say, I'll argue with you, but before we start, can I tell you one thing? A man with an experience is not at the mercy of a man with an argument. And see, April 15th, 1983, I had an experience. Yep. I had an encounter with God and the Lord Jesus Christ, his son, and my life has been changed. See, I've got something now that I never had in my whole life. I have peace. I wake up happy every day. When I first came home, my wife and I were both alcoholics when we got together. When we started dating and then we moved in together, we were both alcoholics. Then we got married. And then I turned her on to drugs, and she became a drug addict. And one day she came home from work and said, something happened to me today. And I said, what happened to you? And she said, a lady at work prayed with me today, and I asked Jesus into my heart. I'm a Christian now. And I said, so what? And she goes, you're not mad? I said, I don't care what you do. She said, what should I do? I said, I don't know, read the Bible, I guess. And she started reading the Bible, and she fell in love with another man. His name was Jesus.
Wow.
And she started praying for me. And 2 years later, I surrendered. Because God told her to quit. She would preach to me, Tony. I'd be gone for 5-6 weeks at a time. And when I'd come home, I was always mean to her. And I'd come home and she'd try to preach to me and I'd get meaner. And then God told her one day, stop preaching to him and just love him. And she said, I can't love him the way he is. He's too mean. And she said, would you give me your eyes to see him through? And somehow, supernaturally, God gave my wife his eyes to look at me through. And no matter what I did to that woman, she still loved me. I had a cocaine customer that bought he'd bought $20,000 worth of coke from me every week like clockwork. Never failed. I mean, I'd just go over there and get money every week. I went over there one day and he goes, hey, Bill, your wife called yesterday. And I said, what'd my wife want? He said, she just said to tell you she loves you. Why don't you call that woman? I said, why don't you shut up? But I drove around the rest of the day. I couldn't get that off my mind. Yeah. And that love, the Bible says in 1 Corinthians 13:8, love never fails. Yeah. And that love drove me nuts. And I finally surrendered. And when I did, my life's never been the same. So when I went home, I was home a week. And I hadn't told Debbie. I said, I got something to tell you. And she said, what? I said, a week ago today, I said, God, if you're real and you can change me, I'll live for you. And she turned around, she was doing dishes. She turned around and she was crying. And she said, I knew something had changed you. And I said, how'd you know? She said, because every day this week, you've woke up happy. And I've never seen you happy when you wake up. And you haven't kicked my cat in a week. And, that's a joke to everybody. And everybody always laughs when I tell that.
But it's the truth, isn't it?
Oh, I was a cat killer. I would drive 100 miles to kill a cat. Oh. And every time her cat walked by me, it didn't matter if I was 5 feet from the wall or 25 feet, the cat was going to hit the wall. And she said, you haven't kicked my cat in a week. Jeez. Something changed me. And today, she says it's God's judgment. We have a cat that sleeps with us at night. She said it's God's judgment on you.
Oh, my goodness. What a story.
Anyway, that's my story, Tony, and I'm sticking to it, brother.
Well, and, I got the opportunity to meet you through Daryl Smith, who we had on our show last week. And you and I become friends. I mean, and I look up to you, man. I mean, I get a lot from you.
Well, thank you, Tony.
I really do. I get a lot from you because I look on the back of this book, and I look in that guy's eyes, and that ain't the same look I'm looking at right now.
Right.
I mean, you know that.
Yep.
You know that. There's no twinkle in those eyes.
Yep.
There's no peace in those eyes. Those eyes are dark.
Yep. There's actually a picture in that book somewhere. I don't remember what exact page. Oh, it's before that. There's two pictures side by side, and they were actually 11 months apart.
82 and 83.
Yeah, 82 and 83.
Yep.
And people look at them and they go, well, that's not the same person. I go, you're right. Oh, there it is right there. I said, you're right. It's not the same person because the Bible says if any man be in Christ, he's a new creature. Old things are passed away. All things are become new. And so the peace that I had there, and the thing is, I've had it for 42 years. This coming April will be 43 years. And it's something I looked for my whole life through girls and, I mean, everything. I looked for it, couldn't find it.
So, Bill, let me ask you this.
Yes, sir.
Just to share with the audience, you said you lost your wife, your family, but you and I have had breakfast and lunch, and we've talked about you reuniting with all of your family.
Right.
And it gives me chills to think about that. I mean, I know about your boys, but then now your daughter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And now, well, let's talk about those first. It was 10 years after I became a Christian that I went to all 4 of my children, and I said, look, I was a lousy father, and I've been a Christian now for 10 years. Yeah. I've been helping the inmates. I've been helping the drug addicts. I've been on the streets. My wife and I go out, we talk to prostitutes and pimps and homeless and men under the bridge, and I've been loving on them, but I still have ignored you for 10 years. And I said, will you give me, and I took each one of my kids individually to supper or to lunch, and I said, will you let me start today being a dad to you? Will you forgive me and let me start over today? And every one of them said yes. And that was 32 years ago. Now, is our relationship as good as it would have been had that never happened? Had I never been a bad guy and I've been a good dad all those years? No, it's not as good, but it's better than it was, and it's getting better every year.
Good.
And then you want me to share the story? It's
Yeah,
kind of a cool story.
told me
So
not too
just
long
6 months ago,
Yeah.
April, I believe that's 6 months.
Yeah.
April 2nd, I get a phone call that my DNA matched a lady in Omaha, Nebraska that is 62 years old. And we've done all the math and all the paperwork and all the figuring out, names of who the girl was and all that. And I'm definitely her dad. We've been together now. My wife and I went there May 30th and met her and her husband. She's 62. She's been married 44 years. She has 3 children and 6 grandchildren. And she's my daughter. I talk to her every week. I've texted her today already, but we talk every week. She's come down here July 26th. She came here and met her brothers and sisters who she had never met. So in one phone call, I went from having 4 children to 5 children. And I could say 10 if you want to count the spouses, because she's been married 44 years. My son's been married 42 years. My other son, they've been married a long time. So my son-in-laws and daughter-in-laws are my kids as far as I'm concerned. So I got 10 kids. And I went from having 10 grandkids and 11 great-grandkids to 13 grandkids and 17 great-grandkids. So we've got a big family. I've got 30 grandkids and great-grandkids. And we know that God is involved in it. When she was here, she has a sister here, same mom but a different dad. And we went to her house and met her when Ruth was down here. And when she found her dad, he refused to talk to her. And I told her I was so sorry that her blood father wouldn't talk to her, but I said, you've got a heavenly Father that really loves you. And I asked my daughter, I said, Ruth, how come you had your sister call me instead of you calling me? And she said, Bill, because I was afraid you might reject me.
Oh.
And I said, I would never do that, Ruth. And so I've got a relationship now with that daughter, and it's really been cool. And it's a God story for sure. So I've met 2 of her daughters. She's got 3 daughters, and I've met 2 of them. I haven't met the other one, but I've met 2 of them, and so I'm looking forward to meeting my other granddaughter. So, yep, it's been my wife says, Bill, that I was going 200 miles an hour in the world.
Yeah.
And God didn't reach down and say, whoa, boy, you got to stop. God just reached down and turned the car around. I'm still going 200, but I'm going a different direction now. I'm 81 years old. I told the guys in the prison Saturday, I said, guys, I love you, and you got 14 more years of me. And here's why I know that. Because the first time I went into prison in 86, I came home, and my wife said, how was it? And I said, it was amazing. I said, I want to die of a heart attack in a prison telling inmates how God changed me. And she said, Bill, don't say that. The Bible says we speak life or death with our tongue. The Bible says we eat the fruit of our lips. What you say is what you'll get. Don't say you want to die of a heart attack. I said, I'm sorry, honey. How's this? I want to die of a heart attack in a prison telling inmates how God changed me when I'm 95. She said, that's okay.
Yes.
And she's already told me she's not going with me that year. But let me tell you what else I believe, man. The Bible says, delight yourself in the Lord, and He'll give you the desires of your heart. And He knows the desire of my heart is to die in a prison at 95, telling inmates how He changed my life. And I believe He's going to let me do that because I'm 81. I've almost got more energy now than I had 2-3 years ago. Sure. My mind, people are like, how do you have such a good memory at 81? How do you? And I said, I don't have a good memory. I have a perfect memory. You know why? Because in Philippians 2:5, it says, let this mind be in you that was in Christ Jesus. In Isaiah, it says that we're to remind God of His word. And why would we remind God of His word? He wrote it. he inspired the writers to write the Bible. Why would we remind him? It's not because, I'll tell you why, because he likes to hear us speak his word to him, mm-hmm. but he likes even more to have us pray his word to him. So every day I pray Isaiah 11, God, you said to remind you of your word, and I'm reminding you that in Philippians, you said, let this mind be in me and Debbie that was in your son. Your son had a perfect memory. Would you give us the mind of Christ? Because that's what your word says. And so that's how we've been praying for a few years now, and I think my memory's better now than it was 5 years ago.
All right, so you wrote the book. When's the movie coming out?
Well, the movie that's in there?
The movie of you.
The movie's in the book.
So
it talks about, I have so many people.
I know what's in the book.
Because it talks about the movie, and we did make a movie in 1993.
Yeah.
My daughter actually met her husband at one of those.
Yeah.
They call them casting calls or whatever. She met her husband, and she's been married to him since 94. So they've been married 31 years. It was funny because I used to be real big. I was 6'3" and 275, and I'm 5'11" now. I've lost 4 inches in height. And but I was big and I was crazy. And now I'm a Christian now, and I'm 93 and a good guy, but I'm a big guy. And so the guy who played my part was a guy named Matt Wisniak, and the director of the film was a guy named Peter F. Adams. And they're driving home from a meeting at about midnight, and my daughter, if you've seen pictures of my kids in the book, my daughters are beautiful. And this guy that played my part, he asked Pete, they're driving, it's midnight, they're driving home, not talking, just tired, driving. We've been meeting all day. And he goes, hey, Pete. He said, yeah, Matt. He goes, did you see Bill's daughter? Pete goes, yeah. And then he goes, hey, Matt. He goes, yeah, Pete. He said, did you see Bill?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he did. Man, oh, man. So one good thing is I get to be your friend for another 14 years.
Hey, right? Yeah, that's right.
Bill Corum, everybody. The book is The Ultimate Pardon. Go get this book, read it, and you never know. There's hope for everybody.
Yep.
And you don't have to be a prisoner either.
No.
And
if you want peace in your life, there's hope.
There it is. Bill Corum, thank you. I want to remind you guys you can catch all our full podcast episodes on YouTube, Spotify, and Patreon. If you haven't checked that out, make sure you do so. Also, connect with us. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, and we're going to have a bit of a schedule change because Bill is going to make a trip overseas to the New Hair Museum, and it'll take him a couple of weeks to get back, and when he gets back, he will have a surprise wig on.
Yes, you won't recognize me.
Yeah, well, that may be true too.
That is very true. Yeah,
you are going to have a surgery, so we will get back, and I know that everything's going to be good with you.
Sure,
because you got me and him to make sure that especially
buddy.
Him, especially
right.
Tony.
That's right.
But we'll be back to our normal schedule on Halloween. Our next episode will come out on Halloween. Meanwhile, why don't you catch up on all the rest of them? There's some good stuff on there, from back when we first started a couple of months ago. And we had our first live podcast at Vito's, and we are going to go back. We're going to kind of try to make this a regular thing over at Vito's. We'll be over there every several weeks, and we definitely want you guys to come out. We had folks out there this past week.
We had
we had a big crowd. Yeah,
it was packed, and they were listening. You know, got a little applause here and there, and
when you talked.
Right.
And we had people that had never been there before.
I know.
And, you're going around, you ever been here? No. What do you think? Oh, this place is great.
Yeah.
So
that's what we wanted.
We're putting a plug in for Vito's Original Pizza on 7 Highway. So check out our podcast. Make sure you want to watch the reels. Those are always a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Make sure you leave us comments if you feel like, and definitely, please subscribe. Tell your friends about Bill and Tony's excellent adventure. We'll talk to you.
Bye-bye.